The Unread Letter. A tragic story of regret and lost time. Welcome back to Magic Verse, where we explore stories that linger in the heart and haunt the soul. Tonight we bring you a tale of regret, silence, and the words left unspoken. How often do we wait until it's too late to say what truly matters? How many moments slip away, never to return? This is the story of a father and son, two lives bound by love but separated by pride. A misunderstanding that lasted years, and a letter that arrived too late. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's uncover the painful truth hidden in the unread letter. The rift between them. The wind howled through the empty streets as James stepped out of the taxi, his breath visible in the cold evening air. He hesitated before walking up the stone steps of his father's old house. It had been years since he had last stood here, and now returning felt almost foreign, like stepping into the remnants of a past he had long abandoned. The porch light flickered, casting a dim glow over the aging wooden door. James reached for the handle, but his hand stopped midair. What was he even doing here? He had spent a decade convincing himself that his father didn't matter, that his absence was justified, that the man who had never truly listened, never truly cared, didn't deserve a second thought. Yet, here he was, and his father was gone. The house was eerily silent when he stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of old books and dust. Memories lurked in every corner, ones he had buried deep, yet never fully erased. The hallway still had the same family pictures, though time had dimmed their colors. A framed photo of him as a child sat on the mantel, untouched. If his father had truly stopped caring, why did everything remain exactly the same? James clenched his fists, pushing the thought aside. He wasn't here for sentimentality. He was here to do what needed to be done. Yet, as he moved deeper into the house, a lingering sense of unfinished business weighed heavily on his chest. And then, he saw it, a simple white envelope resting on his father's old desk, his name written in shaky handwriting. To my son, James. His breath caught in his throat. For the first time since he arrived, he hesitated. Not because he didn't know what to do, but because he feared what he might find inside. The unspoken words. James's hands trembled as he held the envelope. His father's handwriting was barely legible, the ink slightly smudged as if written with unsteady hands. He took a sharp breath and tore it open. For years, James had convinced himself that his father's silence meant indifference, that the absence of kind words was the absence of love. But now, holding a letter written just for him, he felt something deep inside him crack, a painful realization creeping in before he even read the first word. He unfolded the paper and started reading. My son, I don't know if you will ever read this. Maybe by the time you do, I will be gone. But if this letter reaches you, there's something I need you to know. I have never been good with words. I have never been the kind of father who knew how to express love the way you deserved. And for that, I am sorry. I know you think I never cared. I know you believe that I was always too harsh, too distant. The truth is, I was afraid that if I showed too much, I would fail you, afraid that I would not be enough. The night you walked away, I wanted to call your name. I wanted to stop you, but pride is a cruel thing. It keeps us from saying what truly matters until it's too late. I don't know if I ever deserved to be forgiven, but I need you to understand something, James. You were never unloved. You were never forgotten. James's hands tightened around the paper as his vision blurred with tears. His father had regretted everything. He had tried to reach out, and James, blinded by resentment, had ignored it all. His chest felt heavy, suffocating. He had spent years believing in his version of the truth, never stopping to question it. And now, here it was, the truth he had refused to see, written on a piece of paper, too late to matter. James let out a shaky breath, pressing the letter against his chest, as if he could somehow make up for the years he had wasted. But regret is cruel. It only lets you see the truth when you can no longer change it. The weight of regret, James's grip on the letter tightened. His breath was shaky, his chest heavy, with an unbearable pressure. His father had loved him. In his own flawed way, he had always cared. But James had been too blind, too angry to ever see it. A sob broke free from his throat as he collapsed onto the chair beside the desk. His father had written these words, knowing he might never get to say them aloud. James had spent so many years believing a lie. He had convinced himself that his father's silence was rejection, that the absence of affection meant the absence of love. But now he could see it so clearly. The love had always been there. It was just buried beneath years of stubbornness and miscommunication. The house around him suddenly felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in. He looked around at the relics of his father's life, the untouched books, the carefully kept photographs, the small mementos he had left behind. Everything had been a sign that his father never stopped thinking about him. But James had ignored them all. Tears slipped down his cheeks as he clutched the letter to his chest, as if holding on to it could somehow bring back the lost years, the stolen time, the chances he never took. But time does not give second chances, and neither does regret. He pressed his forehead against the old wooden desk, the weight of his sorrow pressing him down like an anchor. "I'm sorry, Dad," he whispered into the silence. But silence was the only answer he would ever receive. And so, the letter remained, words written in ink, but never spoken aloud. James held the paper in his hands, but it could not bring back the years he had lost. The weight of his father's love was now a burden of regret, a sorrow that time would never erase. How many of us are living with words left unsaid? How many of us will wait until it's too late? If this story made you think, share your thoughts in the comments. And if there's someone in your life you've been meaning to reach out to, do it now, before regret is the only thing left behind. Thank you for watching Magic Verse. Until next time, don't let silence be your final goodbye.